that's one of those things. It's like you can just be pelted with an almost infinite number of historical facts and have it make no impression on you. You can have it make no impression on the part of you that picks what to do with your life, right? Mm-hmm. You don't necessarily need to be thinking about the Babylonians when you're picking whether to make a sandwich or whatever. Like, I'm not saying it's relevant to everything, but there are a couple of these decisions, like, to simplify it, like, what is the overall thrust of my life going to be? What is the point? Why am I doing this? Mm-hmm. And if you think that thought and you want, if you're sort of vexed by this intuition that maybe it should matter, then you might find that you want to know, like, where are we in the plot? Like, what happened? Mm-hmm. And because surely history is littered with people who did the wrong thing because they didn't know what had happened before.
Right.
They scored on their own team or whatever it was. And so it is a little bit, it is certainly a little bit idealistic to think that if people really understood history, that they would act differently and do better. There is something aspirational in it and not incredibly practical, because it takes a long time to understand history. But also, if you look back at some of the people who really shaped things, they did have an understanding of it. And so when I'm talking about, like, the Federalist Papers, one of the things I like best about it is that you listen to these people and in these essays, and they are making a type of commentary that is, so first of all, it is historically sophisticated. They're talking about case studies in ancient Greece, in the city-states. They're talking about Rome, and they're talking about, like, medieval Europe and things that went right and things that went wrong. Okay. 2, in addition to being historically sophisticated, they are in fact talking to their peers. They're not just speaking out into the void. They're not just, like, making clouds in the air. They're talking to other human beings. Mm-hmm. So if I was like, hey, Ollie, how's it going? Did you know the ancient Greeks XYZ? Today we need to go to Costco. Like, that's a weird thing to say, but there's a unity there, right? Mm-hmm. And in addition to being historically sophisticated and actively relevant, it's also politically sophisticated. Like, they're doing statecraft. They're trying to decide what do we do right now about our Constitution. Mm-hmm. And you can keep going. Like, also they're eloquent, right? There's literary sophistication. And what you could describe seeing there is that's interconnected mental content, rather than highly siloed, highly separated mental content. Mm-hmm. Part of what I try to do is I try to talk about a bunch of shit in an intertwined way, because this is one of the flaws that happens in people's thinking. So, for example, I am making this video on Toynbee, and I'm talking about his concept of withdrawal and return, which is this sort of spiritual idea that creative individuals must leave society and then return to it with something that they gained from this adventure into the beyond or whatever. And I finish it by making, like, one comment about how this relates to startups. Now, I can hear the common wisdom saying, well, you should, like, to just focus it on, like, what Toynbee has to say about startups. But I resent and hate that idea because, like, I want to be able to drop in. I'm being, like, difficult with the audience. It's like I want to drop in one comment a little bit just to rattle you, because you should be rattled by the fact that you didn't already think of that. And so this is one of my messages to mankind, is that you should be rattled by all the splinters and division in your mind. And maybe this is one thing I want to direct people to.
I was a bit confused about which thought they should have had that they didn't. Yeah. I can restate it. I start talking about Toynbee, right? Who's Toynbee? I can find a picture of the guy. He talks like this. He's like exactly what he's what he sounds like. What his name sounds like, right? You have this idea in your head of, like, who Toynbee is. And I'm reading this thing. I'm reading long ass quotes. I recently was trying to
find a good audiobook for the Federalist Papers, because I like listening to stuff in order to learn it. And this amazingly honest reviewer says, these sentences are too long for a 21st century thinker, for a 21st century person or whatever. Okay. And I'm like, that's so fucking magnificent, because it's true, and it's such a brutal criticism of us, right? It's not, there's no criticism of the fucking founding fathers in that. It's like definitely on us. Anyway, Toynbee's one of these guys. His sentences are very long. There are many semicolons, and there are like many, he will have words in Greek in the text and not translate them, right? He just will reference the like, and then like, here are like 5 Greek characters. How do we even fucking Google that? There's just like, he sort of thinks I should speak Greek, right? He sort of expects his reader's mind. Like, there are long quotes in Latin in the original, the non-abridged version, also in French, right? And so when I start talking about Toynbee, we have a sense of what type of thing this is, and there's a genre associated with it. Now, why do I end the video by dropping in this thought about startups? Is because who actually is who is watching my video? I don't know who's watching my video. Maybe, hopefully all kinds of people will encounter it. But some of these people I know, right? Some of these people are people who have done startups, who think about startups, who tweet about startups or whatever. Now, the thing that is going to happen by default is startup guy watches my Toynbee video, and he gets the vibe of the, and he puts it in that corner of his mind. He or she puts it in that corner of their mind, right? And I, in my how would you say? I place myself in this role, this gadfly-like role. Whenever a person compares themselves to Socrates, you're in trouble. But there's this gadfly-like role where the gadfly is the image of this like annoying gnat that returns to you to like poke you where you don't want to be poked and like make you think a thought. And so I say something about startups, and I don't know if this is good video crafting. It probably isn't. But as far as trying to shape people, I do want the person to have the thought like, oh, okay, maybe this idea of withdrawal and return has something to do with me, or has something to do with something other than that genre of paragraph-long sentences, right? Because the genre is not helping anybody. And so to finally explain what I'm trying to say, it's like, I want to give the person an itch in an area of their mind that they don't know exists, which is in the rift between genre A of the Toynbee, old mythological, irrelevant, dusty books sort, and genre B, which is, what am I going to do today? Or maybe it's startup stuff.